So you guys wanted to see some actual endgame content? Well, here it is. This is thanks to EA Game Changers. They invited me out to the London event, and in the last couple of hours or so of a 12-hour day, we were bumped up to level 30 to experience some of Anthem's endgame. So in this video, we'll be looking at a new Stronghold, which will be going on throughout the rest of this video so you can check it out. Also talking about this amazing Interceptor melee build, which does include some Masterwork perks that make it even more ridiculous. My name is Ryan Central. You can subscribe for more Anthem content. We are giving away a Legion of Dawn edition of the game, as well as a standard copy for runner-up. Really easy to enter, it's down in the comments below. I also wanted to add as a PSA that I'm currently live on Twitch. An hour after this video goes live, the open demo will open up for the weekend, and of course we'll be playing that, but before then we'll be going over some other endgame gameplay, legendary contracts, harder difficulties, other builds. So if you want to check out some of those after this video, then do join along, twitch.tv/Ryan Central, it's in the comments. So without further ado, let's go over the Stronghold. This is the Temple of the Scar. I believe this was the one that was shown on a recent live stream showing off the Interceptor sometime before the end of 2018. So you guys probably have seen bits and pieces of this one before, but the level is a little bit different to that one, and of course we could show off the main boss battle at the end of this gameplay. I really like the Stronghold. I think I like it more than the other one that was in the VIP demo. It seems a little bit longer, but because it's all closed in, you got to be careful with where you go. There's mines around, a lot of scar everywhere on high ground, low ground, turrets. It can be really crazy and difficult to just keep on top of everything that's been thrown at you. This difficulty was played on normal because we wanted to get, a clean playthrough of the Stronghold so you can see exactly what's in it. But even then, there were a couple of times where we were overrun with a lot of different adds and mobs, and we were also playing as a free, so with 4 people it would have been a little bit more difficult, but no doubt we could have tried this on hard or even Grandmaster. We were pretty much overgeared for this. That's the main reason why we're just blasting through this so much. But it is worth adding that there are a lot of bugs in this gameplay too, especially with the Interceptor melee build. Abilities like the Spark Dash and the Tempest Strike do have a couple of weird moments, so do bear that in mind. This isn't the final build of the game. It's very close to being, but they're ironing out a couple more bugs and stuff, so they'll be fixing that in no time. So this footage isn't representative of the final product. It's fairly obvious, but you know how people are taking stuff and running with it, saying that it's a final thing. We've had a lot of that this week. Whilst the gameplay is going on in the background, I do want to talk about the Interceptor a little bit. One of the big complaints and comments about the Interceptor is that it's not going to be very good end game, and that was predominantly the reason why I wanted to try out the Interceptor in this gameplay and in this Stronghold. I really wanted to see what this build I tried out a couple of weeks ago in Stockholm at like level 5, how that would be represented at the end game, and would that suffice? And the general answer is yes, it still works a lot of the time. Granted, the Spark Dash and this melee focused, very quick build did bug out quite a lot in the Stronghold because it's very closed in, but even in a closed in area, this build was exceptionally fun and powerful in the right hands. There were a couple of things that I made change in some cases, but I certainly wouldn't drop the Spark Dash for anything really. It's such a strong ability, really good at locking on specific targets, just being able to cut that distance between you and the target super quickly, as well as detonating a combo if it's there and doing a shed load of damage. We'll be talking about the melee build specifically in a second, but I really think that the Interceptor in endgame is going to be very useful in a lot of given situations. It's really good for 1v1 situations, being able to melee and kind of stun lock certain characters, burn them down very quickly, but it's also incredibly good clearing up adds. You'll see this with the boss fight later on. You saw Arex and Willis, who were in my group with me, kind of focusing on the boss, whereas I was focusing on just cleaning up all of the adds that were on the ground. And for those that experienced the Tyrant Mine Stronghold from the VIP demo, you know how when the boss is on low health and there's loads of mobs spawning, how overrun you can quickly become, and that's the easiest part to get wiped on. So it is a really important factor that the Interceptor excels at, especially with this build. I've said before that the Interceptor can suck against bosses, for example, but in this build and these components specifically made it so the Interceptor wasn't terrible in this situation, but I do think it really does depend on your loadout, your build, and your components. Speaking of which, let's go over what I ran, and some of these are Masterwork as I mentioned, so we'll go over the perks and how that goes into it. First, we need to go over the abilities that are in here, the weapons that I had, so on and so forth. The Assault System ability is the Spark Dash. You fly headfirst into them, doing damage and detonating a combo. So if a target's frozen, you use Spark Dash, you will detonate that combo. A really strong and really fun ability to use. Just sort of aim your reticle at the target that you want to hit, the game will lock you onto them and you'll fly straight at at them. The strike system ability is the Tempest Strike. You basically do a roundhouse kick doing a lot of damage, a little bit of AoE, but also detonates the target. So I had 2 detonating abilities in my build, which when you're paired with a storm that's freezing everything, granted me and Willis could have done a lot better here, synergizing, you can just detonate combos for days. You can do so much if your team's setting you up. So I've been paired up with a ranger, for example, or a storm that has just priming abilities. You are going to be on the end of some pretty sick combos. It's also worth noting, as I said at the start of this video, it was pretty late on, I was very tired, and so I wasn't playing as well as I could have. So this gameplay isn't great in a lot of cases, I do a lot of weird stuff, but for the most part you see the strength and ability of this build. The weapons that I had were shotgun and assault rifle. I started off running with the assault rifle to begin with, but once I switched over to the shotgun and how the whole build works in a sense of you being close to enemies, it was perfect. So being able to string the Spark Dash, Tempest Strike and a shotgun together just meant that you were really good up close. And you could get up close very easily. It's very similar to what I ran in my earlier playtests. However, the Masterwork perks in this build really make it shine. I forgot to mention that we were basically given these builds by the devs. When they loaded us up to level 30, we had these preset builds in place and they basically said to just try them out and use them, not to mess with them too much. Of course, I messed with them quite a lot, so there is a lot of stuff in here that doesn't make much sense. But each of the different builds that the Javelins had 2 Masterwork items in them, some of which were mutually exclusive. We'll go over them in a second, so I will go over the ones that I did use and didn't use, but we had the same for the Colossus, the Ranger and the Storm. And some of the builds, for example, a melee Ranger was ridiculous to try out. So if you do want to see some gameplay of the Colossus, Ranger and Storm with the Masterwork perks and how their rotations are changed, some of which are changed dramatically, do let me know in the comments below on which one you want to see. Some tanky Colossus builds, a fire or ice Storm, or as I said, the melee Ranger. Which one do you want to see more? And maybe we'll do another video going over that, because I have gameplay for all of them. With that said, we of course were running with a melee Interceptor build with the Tempest Strike, but we'll start with going over the epic Spark Dash. Doesn't have any crazy perks like Masterwork items do, but when you detonate a combo, it will increase my aura effect by 25%. I don't know if that's the duration or the damage that it does, but it was increased. It also gave me 20% more shotgun ammo, which really complements the build, and also 15% pickup radius, which isn't a bad thing by any stretch. The Masterwork ability that we had was the Tempest Strike, and it was named Sudden Death. When you hit an enemy with Tempest Strike, it detonates a fire explosion. It also increases my Q damage, which is my Spark Dash's damage, by 5%. It gives me more shotgun ammo, and my support ability, which is Rally Cry, charges 50% faster. It also increases my electricity damage by 25%. Now for the weapons and the Rally Cry, I didn't check the inscriptions, but they were sort of epic rare abilities, so they wouldn't have had too much. The other Masterwork ability that I could choose from was in the strike slot on the Interceptor, meaning that I could only pick between the Tempest Strike one or this one, which is called Sanadine's Respite. It is an upgraded plasma star, and if you hit enemy weak points, it instantly restores 50% shields. It also gives Spark Dash 10% speed, more ammo for snipers, more elemental damage, and faster recharging of the Rally Cry, although not as much. Ultimately, I just didn't like this Masterwork item as much as the Tempest Strike one. But this does raise me onto a really important point to mention when it comes to how Masterworks work. Not all Masterwork weapons, abilities or components will have unique names, such as Sudden Death or Sanadine's Respite. This also means that not all Masterwork items have unique perks to them. Let's use this example. Sanadine's Respite, it has a unique name, but it is an upgraded plasma star and it has a unique perk to it, which you can see in gold in text. However, at the end of this Stronghold, I also unlocked another Masterwork plasma star. However, it wasn't Sanadine's Respite, it wasn't Sanadine's anything, it was just a Masterwork plasma star. And as you can see, it doesn't have an interesting perk on it. It still has a good amount of inscriptions on them, some of which are very powerful on second glance, but you get my point. Not all Masterwork or legendary abilities will have unique names to them, some of which will just be better, rarity, gear wise, but will miss out on having those unique interactions. I hope that makes sense. Now let's go over the components, and I do have 2 other Masterwork ones to choose from here. The first is Elusive Talisman, which increases my weapon damage by 25% and also dashing 3 times reloads my weapon. It has 18% thruster life and 20% luck. I don't know what 20% luck does, might just increase your drop chances, I'm not 100% sure. I could also have chosen the Talisman of Power, which increases my Tempest Strike system damage by 10%, but not only that, when I use the Tempest Strike ability, it increases my Spark Dash dash damage by 50%. I don't think I equipped this one in the end, but I really should have, especially because I didn't really use the other component. It also gives me 40% luck as well as 15% thrust to life, which honestly doesn't really go amiss. I had the assault system component, which enhances the assault system to increase damage by 5% of base, which was the spark dash, which is always good for increasing the damage a little bit. I also had the double-edged inscription, which increases my damage dealt by 35% of base and damage taken by minus 35% of base. I don't know if that means that you take more damage or not, but it would make sense, you know, being able to do more damage, but you take more damage as a result. Would make sense for the name too as well. I also had the marksman rifle and sniper rifle ammo components equipped, which I shouldn't have because I didn't have those weapons equipped, but also a heatsink one, which increased my flight time, but I didn't check the inscriptions for all of them. Not quite sure what I ended up running in the end. You could see that there were like a dozen different components, but my mind was frazzled. I didn't want to read text. I didn't want to try and work it out. I just wanted to play. So that's the build in a nutshell. We went into a lot of detail there, but you really get to understand, certainly from watching it, how strong this build is, but also how components can really complement certain playstyles. I really like this build, and now I had a Masterwork component and a Masterwork ability that just made that so much stronger. Would this build have worked in a Stronghold if I didn't have those components? Probably not, and that's where the exciting element comes from. You can have certain weird playstyles and just certain abilities that you like, that having the right components, the right Masterwork perks can just make it legit. Not only that, it might be the best build to run in a lot of cases. And as I said, there were a good half a dozen builds on all of the characters that you could try out, and I really want to show you at some point. Now that we've gone over that, I did want to show you the boss. I am going to sort of quieten down a little bit here so you can really enjoy the battle, and now that you know everything that you know about the certain build, you can really start to see everything come into place. So do enjoy this boss battle, and look how much damage we end up doing in comparison to everybody else. It's pretty crazy.
Prism's begun. It's spawning stars.
Wait, the construct can do that, create scars?
It can do anything.
That is what Stelos is after, was to create an army. That's it, shields down, get on hell.
It's over. The contract is signed.
But that's everything that I wanted to go over in today's video. I did want to go over more, but I don't want this video to be massively long. As I said at the start of the video, I'm live on twitch.tv/Ryan Central, going over some other endgame gameplay that we may go over in another video, as well as playing the open demo and making some crazy builds when it opens up. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.